Hello everybody, welcome back to another 2024 election video. In this video, we're going to do the hypothetical. Let's say Trump picks Glenn Youngkin to be his VP, and let's say that, again, Trump is pretty old, so it's possible he could just step aside for health reasons. He's 78 right now, so it's possible his VP could take over in that scenario. If he gets sick or something, he would step away and let his VP run. But Glenn Youngkin, he's probably the best candidate Republicans can run for in the future. I think Trump probably should pick him for VP. It would really help him in Virginia a lot. It could even make it possible for Trump to even flip Virginia if he were to pick Glenn Youngkin as VP. So, again, I think Youngkin would be a very good candidate. And let's go into the safe states. So, again, I think we're just going to see the standard safe blue states here. I don't think New Jersey and New York would go below 10, even with Glenn Youngkin on the top of the ticket. I just don't see it happening still. I think they still would be safe blue and Maine's first as well. But safe red states, we had a whole lot of them here. So let me just get to setting those up. Again, I just think Glenn Youngkin is a good candidate because he unites the Trump supporters, the more moderates in the suburbs, and he was able to unite a coalition of Virginia that was able to win the state back in 2021. So I think he's a rising star in the Republican Party for those reasons. Starting off with Iowa and Ohio, I think he would pretty much easily win over these states. I think he would unite the Trump base here, unite the moderates here, unite the suburban voters, and appeal pretty well to all of them here. Going down south, I think he would win Florida by over 10 percentage points. It'd probably be a 12-point victory for Glenn Youngkin in this state. He would probably do better than Trump, honestly, because he would win over independents and moderates. Again, Trump has a pretty low favorability rating. It's comparable to Biden's, just based on how people personally view him. So with Glenn Youngkin, he's a fresh candidate, and I think voters would be a lot more willing to vote for him. In North Carolina and Georgia, these would also shift to likely Republican states. I think he'd do a lot better than Trump in these two states as well. And even in Texas, I think he would win it by 10 percentage points against Joe Biden. I think he'd be a very solid candidate in winning over this state. Going down to Colorado, I even think he would make it from safe blue to likely blue in this scenario. I think he would pull off a lot of voters from the suburban areas, weaken Biden's margins in the urban areas in Colorado as well. I still think Biden would win New Mexico, but it'd be by a much more reduced margin. It would be under 5 percentage points here. Moving to Arizona and Nevada, I still would probably put these as lean Republican states. Again, I think the Republican leads for Trump v. Biden in these states are a bit overblown here. I think they're kind of overestimating Republicans, which is why I would only put these as lean Republican states and not likely. But they could certainly go likely. It's always possible. But I would probably put them at these margins. I think Youngkin probably would win Arizona and Nevada by 4 points each. So just shy of a likely margin. Moving on to the state of Virginia, we're just going to take a look at polls here because they did do a Biden v. Youngkin poll, I believe. It's in the hypothetical polling tab here. Yes, they have. So there was one poll showing him down to Biden, but that was with a ton of undecideds. There's other polls showing him up by a lot. These are both Virginian polls done here that are Roanoke College, Virginia Commonwealth, and they all showed Youngkin leading here by a pretty solid amount. I don't think he would win by over 5 points, but I think he would probably end up winning Virginia by about 3% or something. So, yeah, I think he would probably end up winning Virginia against Joe Biden, especially with how bad Biden's polling in Virginia currently against Trump, in a pretty much a dead tie in some of the more recent polls, or barely up. So, again, I think Youngkin would be very favored to win in Virginia, and he already hits 270 through that state. In Nebraska second, I also think he would end up winning this district. In Maine and New Hampshire, I think he would end up winning New Hampshire by probably about 2 percentage points against Joe Biden. And in the state of Maine, I think it would be by a bit more of a reduced margin. I don't know, let me think about this. Maine would have a lower amount of college-educated voters, so that would probably benefit Republicans a bit more here. So I think New Hampshire and Maine would vote by about the same margin here, so by both lean Republican margins. And he would win Maine second by over 10. So going down to these 4 Rust Belt states here, Wisconsin, Michigan, PA, and Minnesota, I think you'd probably end up sweeping the Rust Belt. He would unite most Trump voters here, so I don't think you would be seeing a drop-off in support for him. And just Biden's approval ratings being so low in the high 30s, while Glenn Youngkin's would probably be a bit higher with his favorability rating because he's a fresh candidate. I think he'd pretty easily sweep these Rust Belt states, not by a landslide, but by a good enough margin, by like 2 or 3 points, he would win them by. However, the state of Minnesota, I still think it keeps its Democratic streak here. I think it just barely holds on for Biden. And Glenn Youngkin wins 332 to 206. So that's the same number Obama beat Romney by, I believe. So sometimes these electoral vote totals repeat in history, which is kind of funny. We saw 306 to 232 before, and we're seeing 332 to 206 again. So this would probably be the map if Glenn Youngkin somehow got the nomination for the Republican primary. If Trump decides to step aside and he's Trump's VP, he would probably let him have it. But that's the scenario here. I think Glenn Youngkin would probably easily win the popular vote by like 3 percentage points against Joe Biden. And that's what leads to him flipping a lot of these states red. And Republicans would probably do well down ballot in these Senate races as well. But that's my prediction. It was Glenn Youngkin v. Biden. Let me know what you think of this video in the comments below. If you're new to this channel and you enjoy politics or political videos like this, I'd highly recommend subscribing. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next one.